everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Hannah's Cuisines. Today we're going to be making Tandoori Roti. Now as you all know, in the house we don't have tandoor ovens, so I am going to be showing you a couple ways that we can make it right on the stove, or we can option of putting it in the oven where we will broil it. First we'll do it on the stove and then we'll stick it in the oven to broil it. So first things first. So for our tandoori rotis, well, first thing what we want to do is you want to warm up about 3/4 cup of milk, and into that we're going to be adding half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of sugar and 1.5 or half a teaspoon of yeast. What we're going to do is we're just going to combine this and we're going to just let it rest on the side so it can start fermenting. And with this process, what happens is the dough gets a head start, so it's gonna start fermenting, and then when we do put it in our flour, it's gonna start fermenting quicker than if we would have added everything separately. So in my bowl here I have 4 cups of white flour. To that we're gonna be adding 1 stick of butter, which measures to 8 tablespoons of butter, or half cup of butter, or 1/4 of a pound of butter. I know my videos are seen all over the world, and that's why I'm giving the different measurements of the butter. And then we're going to be using 1 egg, pinch of salt, and then we're going to be using the oil just when we bind the dough, and when we're going to let it rest, we're just going to spread some on top of it. We're also going to be using about 1 cup to 1.5 cup of water, depending on how much we need to bind the dough. I've got some white sesame seeds here and some parsley flakes, dried parsley flakes, that we're going to use just for garnishing. So let's get started. And then we're also going to be using about 2 tablespoons of butter that we will be putting it on top of our rotis when they are done. And this will just, help keep our rotis really nice and moist. So let's get started here. Into our flour goes our 1 stick of room temperature butter. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the egg in there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and add our salt in there. And the salt can just be just enough for how much you would want it to taste. So as you can see, I would like the yeast to be fermenting more, but just because we're doing it for video, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in. That means it's just going to take longer for it to poof up. So in goes my milk and yeast mixture. And now we're just going to mix everything together. These tandoori rotis are, if you follow it step to step, according to all the ingredients, this is the only recipe you're ever gonna need to make tandoori rotis, or even naans. You can use it for just about anything, really. You can make buns from this flour or this dough. It's really a versatile dough. I just love it. This is my mom's recipe, so thanks Mom, and she makes it every time. It turns out amazing. So now what I'm going to do is I just have about a cup of warm water, and we're not going to add it all together. We're just going to add it little by little, because I think we might just be able to get away with just a 3/4 cup of water and not even the whole cup. And so that's how really you want to do it. If you have a mixer, you want to use a mixer, go ahead and use a mixer if you want. I don't know, I just make this by hand, and it just goes so fast that kind of feel like you don't want to haul the big mixer out to do it. So, and you can see how quickly our dough is coming together. Now, the other thing also I would say is the softer your dough, the more pillowy, soft rotis you're gonna have. So if you're gonna have a dough that's gonna be a little bit too stiff, your rotis are gonna come out stiff. So the softer you can try and knead this dough, the better it is. And then what we're gonna, and then I exactly used 3/4 cup. So, but like I said, depending on what flour you're using, you know, you might be adjusting your water input into these rotis. Okay. Right. So do you see how sticky this dough has become? And which is perfect. I love the dough where it's nice and soft, so it's not thick or it's not stiff. All right. I'm just gonna bind it to where it leaves my bowl clean. And that's how I know that dough is nicely kneaded. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just take our oil, and you can use canola or you can also use olive oil if you want. I'm just gonna give it a good covering so it doesn't dry off and keeps the dough really nice and soft. Okay, this video is also available in Gujarati, so if any of you out there want to watch this in Gujarati, it is available. Okay. Now what we're going to do is basically just cover this up, and we're going to let it puff until it is double in size. Oh, my cling wrap just wants to stick to each other. Okay. So I think we're gonna come back after about half an hour, depending on how long it's gonna take for it to puff. Now it is extremely cold here in Minnesota. We have record lows, and so it is gonna take a while for this dough to rise. Now if it was summer, it would probably take about 15 minutes for it to rise. So when we come back, we're gonna start making these tandoori rotis. So for this dough here, I'm just gonna take it, and then we're gonna make them into like tennis ball shaped, just like so, and then we're gonna bake them up. So I've got my big roti that I have, that's my microwave, please excuse that. And what I am doing here is I just have like a bowl of water here. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of putting a little water on it, and then we're gonna put it on the pan. So if you do not have the electric pan and you're just using a regular on the stove pan, it's the same thing. Mine's just electric, and I actually love this. And so this roti here is going to be going into the oven where we're going to be broiling it. I am going to roll out another one here just to show you, because I said I was going to show you 2 ways that you can do this at home without the tandoor oven. And I'm just going to roll that out, and we're going to do this on the stove. And you can even make these into like the restaurant style. They make the oblong ones. So you can just, you know, make it into more of an oblong shape than the round shape. And then I'm going to show you here. We're going to come here. Look at those bubbles. You see those bubbles? I'm just going to lift up just a little bit, and I see a little bit of it. See how it's browning on the bottom? That's perfect. So into my pan here, you don't have to have like a cookie sheet on the bottom. You can just put it straight away onto the grill here. But you could also do it this way. I'm going to transfer it onto the cookie sheet, and then we're going to put it under the broil. And I'm just going to wait for it to just brown a little bit on top. And there we go. I'm going to transfer it just like so. So I've got that roti done. Just give me a second here. I'm just going to take the cookie sheet out, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this on the stove. And when you're doing this method, please be very careful, because the oven can get very, very hot because it is under the broil. So for this one, we're not using the electric skillet. For this one, we're using one that's on the stove. Again, I am going to wet one side up really well. This is going to help the tandoori roti to stick to the bottom of the pan. We're going to come here. We're going to put it right like that. And then what I'm going to do is, with my dry hand, I'm just going to do this to the side. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that it is going to stick. Okay. All right. We're gonna let it cook up just a little bit on the bottom. And you can see this big bubble here. You can see the tiny little bubbles coming up. That makes us sure that the bottom is cooked. Now, let's say that we finish the roti and the bottom is not done. We'll just put it back onto the stove. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it around, and I'm gonna cook it right above my grill, just like so. Okay, so do you see how that's done? So at this point, let's go ahead and turn it and see. It did poof really, really well, and the bottom is perfectly cooked. So there we go. So those are the 2 types I wanted to show you guys that can be done at home without a tandoor oven. So they are very, very hot. This is the first one that we took out. I'm going to just add just a bit of parsley flakes on there just to add a bit of color. And then the other one, you could add whatever you like, leave it plain. You could even do a mixture of some butter and some garlic with a little bit of salt. And then this one I'm just going to sprinkle with a little bit of sesame seeds. These go really, really well with any type of curries. They're just absolutely delicious, and I really, really want you guys to try this recipe, because I've heard from a lot of people commenting and sending me emails that, you know, they're very much get a little eerie about making these at home, just because they think that they're not going to turn out as great as the restaurant style. But this recipe, my mom's recipe for this tandoori roti, are 100%. They're gonna turn out and they're gonna be great. You can even make some dough ahead of time, and you can put it in the freezer and use it when you want. Have it with, my favorite is potato and peas curry. Tastes amazing. And when, I'm just gonna take one on the bottom here, so when you know, get into it, look at that pocket. Look at that pocket. See? That just tells me that this has turned out really, really great. These can also be stuffed with kebabs and some onions and some lettuce, and oh, yummy. So, giving it a taste test, amazing. Soft, pillowy, cloudy, soft. So amazing. And they taste remarkable. So, thank you for joining me on this episode of Hannah's Cuisines. Hope I see you here next time with another great episode. See you then, friends.